Hey guys, this is Nick Christopher from Mob Tales. Hope everything's good with you guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Um, it is interesting to say that today's our 100th show, and I'm happy to say that we got this far, and hopefully we'll keep going. Today I have a very interesting guest. His name is Jeff Taylor. Really nice guy who has been through hell and back, so to speak, and has a very interesting story. And we'd like to say thanks for coming on, Jeff, and hopefully we have a good show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, all good. Um, well, just to give people a little bit of an understanding, you unfortunately were incarcerated for something you didn't do, and you survived it. It's amazingly to say. A lot of people don't, and you survived it for many, many years. And um, when you uh, came out and got back into society, you decided to do something to help others that were you want to give back, in other words, to society, where you're helping people that other people that have been in prison, wrongly convicted, and you've set up an organization called Triumph, I believe it's called, and just if you give us a little bit of a background on how this whole thing came about, and um, you know prior to you being incarcerated, how this happened, why it happened, and give us a little bit of a background on that.
Um, sure, my pleasure. There has been I guess from as far back as I can remember, trauma with parents arguing, fussing, daddy physically abusing, um, verbally, emotionally abusing my mother, um, because he enjoyed the taste of women, many women. Let's just put it like that. And of course, none of us were like that. But he enjoyed that, and there was an early divorce, which led to me going to the streets at the age of 8 and start smoking weed and drinking and smoking cigarettes. And it led to a lifestyle of criminal lifestyle for 21 years up until I was 29 years old. Spent some time in the military and was still doing criminal things. So the circumstances didn't change my mindset. So it led to being um, a person who was incarcerated for 25 years on a wrongful conviction because I was a criminal. I wasn't guilty of what they convicted me of. So um, did
What
that
did they convict you of?
aggravated robbery, charged me with capital murder here in Texas.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I had been a a crackhead, if you will, from getting high on my own supply, and and
Yeah, we
yeah,
know that line. We know where that
yeah,
line came from.
yeah. So it went there, and really couldn't get it together because I really didn't understand myself, and I really didn't understand the trauma that I had dealt with as a kid that had never been addressed. And because that trauma was never addressed, I could never break the cycle of addiction and incarceration. But this last time when they sentenced me to aggravated life, I had a spiritual experience. I had a real um, talk with myself for the first time at 29 years old, and it changed my life. And it was that incarceration experience was the best thing that ever happened to me because it was wrongful conviction, hands down. Did and the judge conspired to give me the time because I wouldn't snitch on the guy who was somebody lost their life and I wouldn't snitch. So that's part of the game. Um, and so since I've been home now 7 years, going on 8 years, and I've started a nonprofit called Triumphant Reentry Resources, and it's to serve the demographic from which I was a resident, the TDCJ population, to help them with trauma, to help them with resources, to help them in every capacity that's necessary to transition from incarceration back into society. Because we are, then when I say we, I'm talking about those of us who've been incarcerated. We are the most misrepresented, misunderstood, and most neglected, probably demographic in society next to mental health. So,
Wow.
veteran and non-veterans alike, and doing my best to get in a position to have a transition facility and a recovery center all in one location.
So this is all, what part of Texas is this?
I'm in Houston.
Houston. Okay. All right. Well, so the organization Triumph that you started, how long has it been in activation so far?
So my nonprofit was founded in 2025, January. So a year now.
Oh, it's a year now. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, it's an infant stage at this point. Um,
Absolutely.
well, so far in this year it's been active. Um, how how have you been happy with some of the progress?
Happy with a lot of the lessons that I've learned. Stuff don't stuff doesn't come easy for people who have a lot of responsibility. I think you know what that means, Nick. When you have a different purpose, then you don't go through the normal things that other people go through. So one of the most things that I've learned, even though I knew this well on the inside, because everybody I just trusted, a lot of people in this nonprofit space and in the space of representing themselves as people who want to help from their hearts really just have a bottom dollar um, incentive, how much they can get out of the situation. They're not really in it to serve people. And so that's been the hardest lesson for me, learning that all over again in a different capacity. Coming from the streets, you know that. You don't trust nobody in the streets. You don't think you need to carry that same mentality into a service oriented industry, man. So yeah, I'm learning a lot.
Well, in your experience, I mean, people who've never been incarcerated, never had that experience, thank God, who haven't,
Hmm.
they don't seem to don't, people like on the outside don't understand
Right,
what it's about. Like in other
right.
words, you were wrongly convicted, and like a good friend of mine who was in Philadelphia. He was a Philly wise guy.
Hmm.
Yes, he wasn't a good guy. I mean, he
Hmm.
was a mobster, but
Hmm.
he got wrongly convicted of a murder he didn't commit, and he's been
Hmm.
doing 20, some odd, maybe I don't know, maybe even almost 30 years now. And I've
Hmm.
tried to help him numerous times. It's very difficult because he was definitely set up. Um, but people who don't experience that, never experienced that, don't understand what it's like. Now, can you give us a little bit of a inside scoop of what it's like to live like that, knowing you didn't do what they put you in prison for? Like, how do you deal with that mentally, physically, spiritually? What does it take to survive?
For me personally, it took the initial change, the initial metamorphosis for me to become a grown ass man, if you will, took me getting real with myself. And then it took 100% the help of God making me and helping me and directed me in becoming somebody I had never been before, which was a person who had some integrity, a person who was in touch with himself, and a person who was real about life and dealing with life on life's terms. I never did that before. Like there was something I never did because I didn't see any value in that. The dudes who live those kinds of lifestyles were squares to me, and I had no desire to be a square. Uh, so, none of that was
Yeah,
appealing to me.
yeah,
Um,
me neither. I know what you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah. So, I'm bitten with the early bug of the street life. The people who were criminals were my heroes, the people I looked up to, people who had influence over me. And it's funny because I played organized sports, but I still like the streets more than I like organized sports for some reason. But I didn't think so. And I played basketball as my job in the Army, so I was pretty good at it. Um, but it takes a lot. One of the earliest commitments I knew I made to myself, and I can remember that, was I'm not going to let the state of Texas have my mind. They got my body, but I'm not going to let them have my mind. And so the work started for me changing who I was. Um, and it took a lot of strength that I didn't embody at the time. I just knew I wasn't going to go in and I wasn't going to be a snitch. I wasn't going to be a punk. And I wasn't going to be the kind of person who left worse than I came. And so I got in educational programs. I became a Toastmasters member. Uh, I mind my own business because that's the one of the most important things you have to do in the penitentiary when you're dealing with people who are gang related, family related, all of those different things. And me being what's called a neutron, just me respecting people and them respecting me. I was fortunate enough to not have to do any of those things, not have to kill somebody, not have to be in position to kill somebody, um, because I had really, and this is almost cliche sometimes, but I can't help but mention how important God was and still is in my life, not from a religious perspective or a church perspective or any of that stuff that people get, that you see a lot of. I went within instead of looking without, if that makes any sense. I went inside
Yeah,
myself. I didn't go looking for answers to the solutions, I mean to the problems, the solutions to my problems outside of me. I looked within and I learned a lot about myself and I prepared myself for society. And I knew because God had given me a directive and a vision that I would do what I'm doing. So it's amazing to actually be in this position to do what I'm doing because I thought it was really me talking to myself. You know how we can lie to ourselves sometimes about things like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, yeah, I'm gonna do that, yeah, I saw this, yeah, and none of that shit ever happens. Uh, but when it's real and you don't know it's real because I didn't know that I would do 25 years. I thought I would be home in 5. I didn't, according to my plan, it was something different. But there was a whole lot of conviction. There was a whole lot of growth. There was a whole lot of pain and suffering, a whole lot of pain and suffering. So I'm one of the few people in the state of Texas who I had 2 trials and 4 reversals. Direct appeal. I was on direct appeal for 10 years. And it's in the law books. So if anybody were willing to look it up, they could go to 945 Southwest 2nd, 74 Southwest 3rd, 109 Southwest 3rd, 190 Southwest 3rd, and 203 Southwest 3rd. And you'll see all of the legal experiences that I had. Deaths, the death in the death of the judge who originally sentenced me, who took me in her chambers with my attorney and my father and my uncle and the DA and said, "Listen, if you don't take this plea bargain and you don't um, testify against your co-defendant, we're gonna give you this life sentence." Well, when I got one of my reversals, my first one, the judge had just died. So that she said, we're gonna give you this life sentence, and when you come back, because your attorney is gonna fight hard enough for you to preserve some reversible error where you can beat us on appeal. But we're gonna give you this life sentence, and when you come back, we ain't gonna fight. Well, when I got back, that judge had just died, and my attorney had just died. So there were pivotal things happening at crucial times that would have brought about my release that didn't. So it was man, almost enough to make me lose my mind sometimes. Like,
I would imagine.
yeah, you think
But
you're going
it's
home and you're not.
so yeah. Well, see that at that moment, at that time, when this was all going on, was this the time that you did have like a spiritual awakening? Was this the time that maybe all these things were happening for a reason? That
Absolutely.
God God was setting you up for something better?
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
because I'm like, like regardless of what I might have done in the past, I'm a good boy now, and
Hmm.
and I'm I, I'm fortunate enough. I'm fortunate enough, believe it or not, that my current girlfriend is very spiritual, and she's taught me a lot. I mean, I'm Greek Orthodox, and
Hmm.
I go to my church. I always have. I always have, but I never understood it more at a spiritual level from when I learned it from her. So I'm beginning to understand because what you're saying is kind of like what she says, and but coming from your perspective is a little bit different. Obviously, she never been to prison, so thank God.
Hmm.
But from your perspective, and I've heard it from a lot of other guys that I knew that were away, and people laugh when they say, "Oh, he found God." They laugh at that. They're like, "Ah, what do you mean he found him?" They laugh and they don't understand. It may sound funny, but in reality, they don't get it. That it's that it is something um, that happens. It's some people turn their life around. They find something. God doesn't go and help the people that are perfect. He goes help the people that are the most in need, not the people that are have everything they want. So to speak. So I get that part where you're coming from. But again, for people who don't understand this kind of life, because I know a lot of guys like you that were away. My friend Johnny Elite, who was um, an ex-mobster with John Gotti back in the Gambino family. He went
Hmm.
away. He was been away. He was in prison 16 years, on and off, maybe more. And he got out of prison many years ago after he testified, and he turned his life completely around, totally redeemed himself, totally different person that you could ever imagine. This guy was brutal. You have no clue. Crazy Albanian guy. This guy was beyond tough. Now he's still tough, but he's a very good guy. Doesn't do anything stupid. Goes out and helps kids, sort of like what you're doing. And they're getting back. That's why I'm going back to this now. I'm circling back to your organization now to give people a little more better understanding, because there are other organizations like yours out there. Like there's one called I think it's called Wrongly Convicted. I guess I think it's called.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
now they I don't think they really do anything, to be honest with you. The reason why I'm saying that is I'm going to get to the question I'm going to ask you, because like my friend Nikki, who's doing time in Pennsylvania, who's wrongly convicted, and there's proof galore about it, and I found it, and I wrote 2 articles about it. I asked him, I go, what can you do to help my friend? This is the situation. Got him all the casework, paperwork. They told him he should snitch. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's not going to do that. That's not in his DNA. But there's proof that he is wrongly convicted because
Absolutely.
the real guy who committed the murder was what they call a CO. I'm sorry, a CI,
Confidential informant.
confidential informant, and the FBI is protecting him. They
Absolutely.
know they know he committed the murder. So my friend's doing time for this guy for what this guy did.
Hmm.
But so wrongly convicted by that organization, they didn't do anything. They don't want to. Oh, just tell them to snitch. That's it. That's your answer. That's how you help people. Are you joking? So maybe you can fill us in on your perspective on your organization.
My organization doesn't deal with any of the legal capacity because a lot of what you're saying is politically motivated, and when it's political at certain levels, there's nothing you can do anyway because some of that made for TV stuff is actually real stuff that happens. So um, it you know I can speak to the positive of how a person really changes. And by the way, we were talking about the spiritual component. I've practiced Islam. I've chanted as a Buddhist. I grew up going to a Baptist church hours and hours on Wednesdays and Sundays. I took catechism as a Catholic. I've had family members who are Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't believe in God anymore. That I'm way beyond that. I know God is real, and so for me, it don't have nothing to do with going to church. Like I don't even go to church, honestly. I just know God is real in a way that told me to do things. I did them. It worked. He's still dealing with me in the same capacity. It works, and it's not. I'm not special in any way. It'll work for anybody where God chooses you. I didn't choose God. God chose me. So it's a whole nother thing. Um,
Hmm.
I don't find God. God showed me who He is, and helped me become better version of myself. And in that, it made me a giver and not a taker anymore. I give to people, and I enjoy giving to people, and I enjoy people helping people just because they need help, and I know God has allowed me to go through things to help them, and that's what my organization is about helping people with resources, employment, learning how to get a job, learning how to write a resume, dealing with their unaddressed trauma, anger management, um, getting as much computer literacy as possible, uh, how understanding finances. Some people ain't never even had a bank account, bro. When you're in the streets, like from where I'm from, a lot of dudes didn't. We don't know nothing about finances and credit and stuff like that. We know about criminal shit. We know about taking some stuff from a banker or somewhere, but we don't know nothing about
Of
like,
course.
putting some money in there legally. So that's what my organization is about, and helping because ultimately I want to reduce, and I'm working on reducing recidivism, man. Because if we reduce
Mhm.
recidivism, when we reduce recidivism, then we make our community safer. Then we
Amen to that.
then we make guys who become men and fathers to their children and husbands to their wives. You know, my priorities were realigned. Like I'm sure your friends were. My priorities are now people and living clean and doing things where I don't have to look over my shoulder and wonder if I pass by the cops if they're gonna turn around and get me. That's stress. I don't have to deal with that no more. All of those things that in the lifestyle where you come up from criminal lifestyles, criminal mindsets, those things are not important to me. I don't Clubs ain't important to me. Women ain't important to me like that no more. I'm happily married. Um, it's about making a difference in our community, man, making a difference in society, reducing recidivism, educating people about the myths associated with people who have been incarcerated like myself. There are a lot of people go back to prison, but we're not all like that. And there's a lot of us out here who are not going back to prison. We're not only not going back to prison, but we're giving back to society as well. Just because it's not to give back to society as much as it is to change the demographic as far as what incarceration looks like. Because when you reduce recidivism, you bypass all the political crap, the propaganda, the agendas, the bureaucracy. You get past all of that because you just bottom line is the bottom line. People ain't going back to prison no more. You can argue with whatever you want to argue with, but when people stop going back to prison, what's causing it? You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that part is what's important.
Now, with the organization, do you visit like schools and stuff to speak to young people about your background, about your history, and teaching them to stay off the streets, that kind of thing? Have you done things like that, of that nature?
I've done a lot of that. Um, and I don't really, I'm the kind of person I ask kids a lot of questions because I remember when I was a kid, there wasn't a whole lot of questions being asked. There was a whole lot of people who meant well, but they come in and preach to me. My mindset was, if you don't know how I'm living, you can't tell me shit. Why are you talking to me if you don't know what I'm going through? Because I don't relate to you. So I ask kids a lot of questions so that they'll understand. I really do care about where you are, and I understand where you are. And that's the same principle I apply to adult probationers and formerly incarcerated men and women. I understand. I'm the same like you. Yeah, so I go back into prison. I go wherever people have a need, even if it's one on one, because I don't hide the fact that I've been incarcerated like a lot of people do. And not to say that that's any better, but I'm just open and honest about what I've experienced because it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And so sometimes people will pull me aside because I do a lot of networking. I go to quite a few networking, local business networking groups, and people will come and confide in me. Well, my son is in prison. Well, I got a cousin who was just released or about to be released, and he's going to need some things that I would like for you to talk to him. So wherever the need presents itself, I'm going to go if people um, are sincere about the help. But I don't go just because they say that person needs help and okay, I'm just going to give you a handout. I want to know where you are as an individual who's coming out of incarceration if you really want to stay out because resources are scarce for us. And so a person can't come and say, "Hey, I want your help," and then you want me to help you more than you're willing to help yourself. It don't work like that. If you're willing to help yourself, I'll help you. But if you're not willing to help yourself, don't expect me to do for you what you're not willing to do for yourself. But I will carry you if I see that you don't have a strength, but you have a desire and you have something that you really want to work on. Like you can see it when a person is really sincere about wanting to change their lives. And you can hear it
Sure.
in their language.
Now, are you just talking about with males and females, or just male?
Males. I primarily deal with males. And I know women who've been incarcerated a while that I'm plugged into because I'm a recovery coach right now. And I'll have women talk to women who've done a lot of time as well, and let them because they can relate to some female things that I can't.
Yeah, that makes sense. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
All right. Well, so far since you've been, in active for the 1 year, um, where are you hoping that the organization will go? Where do you want it to really? What kind of progress are you looking to do in the near future?
Secure funding for the project that I told you about, the facility that has a recovery center and a transitional housing facility and all of the wraparound services that are needed in that one location to educate, re-educate, and remove the miseducation of what's associated and the experiences of what people go through when they're incarcerated. Because nigga, I've slept on the floor in the summer heat in Texas because it's so hot in water in my boxer shorts and that's standard because in the summertime it's 100 degrees outside. Well, in these buildings it's 115, 120, and with
Wow.
little circulation. I've lived in the wintertime with showers that didn't work, nothing but cold water, and it's 30s and 40 degrees outside, months on end. Like the worst parts are the natural disasters when society is actually, dealing with, struggling with because of the flooding and because of um, the power outages and because of all of those things that happen here in Texas. Society is dealing with no power for days. Well, we're dealing with it and we have no running water. So you in the cell, I've been in the cell with another man where we can't even flush the toilet. And we're getting sandwiches two, 3 times a day, and so you just got to cover up the toilet because man, we're defecating and urinating, and there's no power, there's no air circulating. Like you want to hear horror stories. I've seen men lose their manhood. I've seen people lose their lives. I've seen just about everything you can see. Been in just about everything you can see. So it ain't cracked up to be all of this beautiful. Um, Guys having relationships with women and all of that because I've been involved in that too. Like every part of it. I've seen dudes smoke K2 who were in cubicles next to me and get stuck um, and flop around like fish and all kinds of stuff. Like if you name it, man, I've pretty much seen it in the penitentiary.
Oh,
So it's really, really, really it's a misunderstood demographic.
oh yeah, I'm sure. I wouldn't doubt it. I've heard stories like that from John, my friend John, that I was telling you
Yeah,
about earlier. Forget about
yeah.
the stories. Oh boy, he was locked because he was locked in a prison in Brazil, and which
Mm,
is one of the worst prisons in the world. So
wow.
you can imagine what he was telling me about.
Yeah, it's probably 100 times worse than what I'm describing.
Oh, it's pretty bad,
Yeah,
you know. But
yeah.
to to round out the show, um, can you tell us where people can find information on your organization, how they can help out in some way? Is there a website? Where can they find it?
My website is triumphantreentry.org. You can email me at jet@triumphantreentry.org. Um, you can reach me by phone at 979-985-4351. Um, the website will give you a better idea of what we're working on with TRR. Um, I'm launching a fundraiser here really soon I want to have a Toastmasters um, organization out here for nothing but prisoners who've been in Toastmasters. So I became a Toastmasters on the inside. And it's going to take about 2 grand to get that started. So I've already initiated anyone willing to donate to establish that. And check out Toastmasters if you don't know about Toastmasters. Toastmasters is an international public speaking organization that actually helps all kinds of people from all walks of life with more than just learning and how to speak public and know how to speak publicly. It does a lot with self-esteem. And so I want to continue to offer those types of services to guys who are being released to give them camaraderie, but actually to help them stay away from the things and network together and do all of the stuff that's necessary for us to hold each other accountable, promote each other in celebrating, overcoming. And my website actually was done by a guy I was incarcerated with. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I network with one of the things that my organization will always do is employ and have guys I've been incarcerated with and guys who are serious about their lives post incarceration. Um, allow them to utilize their services, their skills, whatever their professions are that serve. Because I have a whole list of guys who, man, just you'll see. Just have your viewers, if any of you all are willing to really see some real stuff, and I'm going to start a podcast too. Go to my website, triumphantreentry.org, and I want to do what you're doing, Nick, eventually, because this kind of stuff is needed, absolutely needed.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah,
Um, well, my last question is before we go, are you hoping to possibly take this organization on a national level?
yeah, I want to scale it. Um, and scaling it will not be as difficult as getting it started, where people really understand because the numbers are dropping. I did a lot of volunteer work with going into Harris County Jail to get my proof of concept with dealing with trauma because I just focused on trauma. And I got all the certifications necessary from mental health peer specialist to recovery support peer specialist to anger management to trauma to MRT, all of those different things. But trauma seems to be the root cause of why people continue to recidivate, go back to prison, go back to self sabotage, self destruction, using self medicating. Um, and so once the initial organization is up and running, because I'm not going to talk about it too much yet, because I don't want people trying to steal my stuff. But
I don't blame you.
yeah, but w- the organization is going to be innovative in the capacity of there's not another one like it that I know of where there's not only dual services offered in two different capacities in one location, but them playing off of one another, them helping one another. So, um, two of the things that we need the most help with in our communities is incarceration and mental health.
Right. Okay. Sounds good to me, man.
Hmm.
Well, listen, Jeff, it's a pleasure having you on the show. It's very educational, and I think a lot of our listeners would like to hear about this and get a lot of knowledge, um, especially families that unfortunately may have children,
Mm,
young brothers, boys that are in prison, or even young adults, or even adults for that matter. So it'd be good to have somebody they can reach out to. So
absolutely.
yeah. So again, Jeff, thank you very much for coming on the show. It was, like I said, educational, that's for sure. And hopefully, yeah, keep us posted, and who knows, maybe we'll do another one.
Hey, sounds good, man. Really grateful for you having me. Grateful for you and Peter putting up with all of the things that we had to do to finally make this happen. And
It's all good. It happens.
yeah, I look forward to it, man. Whatever, however I can help, I'm willing to.
Same here. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too, my man.